With me, Congressman Trey Gowdy, Republican from the great state of South Carolina, who serves on the House Intelligence Committee. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you?
Good. Have you seen any evidence, or do you have any proof or knowledge of any crime committed by former National Security Advisor Susan Rice?
No, ma'am. The Congress doesn't investigate crime. She's a witness that has relevant information that would be within our committee's jurisdiction, and we're going to want to talk to her. But we don't investigate crime. And Greta, I don't like it when anybody accuses other people of committing crimes. Representative Castro did it this morning, and I would have the same reaction to that. When you accuse people of committing crimes, that's serious, and it's not Congress's job to investigate that, and it's not my job as a member of Congress to level accusations like that.
All right. Well, you were a very successful prosecutor prior to joining Congress. Put your hat on as a prosecutor for a second. Have you seen any evidence, if you were a prosecutor, to suggest that Susan Rice had committed a crime?
Well, I have not, but chiefly because I have not seen any of the evidence related to Ambassador Rice. Chairman Nunes and perhaps Ranking Member Schiff have seen it. I'm coming up over the Easter recess to look at everything that I have access to, but I'm not convinced that I yet have access to the underlying data that may have informed or instructed that opinion. And unless you have overwhelming proof of a crime and it's your job to make that allegation, I just try to stay out of that realm. I mean, Congress should be investigating lots of things, but we don't investigate potential criminality. Therefore, I don't think we ought to be talking about it.
How helpful is it when the president says that to the investigation?
About as helpful as when Representative Castro said it earlier this morning. This is a free country. You can say what you want to say. I would rather wait until the investigation begins and then is concluded and we talk to all relevant witnesses, and if there is evidence of a crime, regardless of who committed it, proper referrals will be made to the Department of Justice. But there's not a single member of Congress that can put anybody in jail for anything, and probably best for us not to talk about it.
Have you seen any evidence that President Obama wiretapped President Trump?
No, ma'am, not in the specific way in which you framed the question, no.
And have you seen, and I mean, you say you're coming up to see the documents. Is there any reason, I mean, it sort of seems like Chairman Nunes and Congressman Schiff have been talking about the documents for about 10 days. Is there any reason why the House committee hasn't seen these documents?
Well, let me say this up front, Greta. I could have used Adam Schiff's help 2 years ago getting documents from a different White House. So I applaud him for finally coming to the full realization that you need documents to be able to conduct an investigation. I fully expect this White House to provide all documents that are not otherwise legally protected. I have no reason to believe they will not. And I think those documents will be provided in time for us to conduct the most fulsome interviews necessary. I smile a little bit at the irony of Congressman Schiff complaining about a White House that won't produce documents. I swear I could have used his help over the last 6 years.
At this point, with all the, all that's gone on in the House Intelligence Committee and all the, I mean, I'm sure you've seen the criticism of both ways, Democrats and Republicans. Do you think that there's a way to sort of get it on track, that you can sort of restore the confidence that this investigation can be done with integrity in the House, or is this one that we should just pass it to the Senate and let the FBI as well do its job?
Well, I think all of the above. I think the Senate has a role to play, and the FBI investigates counterintelligence and criminality, but most assuredly the House has a role to play, and I think we can play that role. And I'll say the same thing I said last week. Greta, Adam Schiff is a former federal prosecutor. So am I. We know how to run investigations. We need access to the documents, access to the witnesses, and we need to start conducting interviews in a setting most conducive with the most amount of information, which means confidentially. It's the way he and I did it in our previous lives. It worked then. It will work now. The less politicizing and the more actual hard work of asking questions of serious witnesses who have relevant information, the quicker we will be on the path to finding facts and then ultimately the truth. You know I love talking to you, but doing television interviews and accusing one another of things is not constructive towards finding the truth. We need to start interviewing witnesses, and I am ready to do that and would love to have Adam's help.
All right. Do you believe tonight, I realize that there's an ongoing investigation, you need to see more, but tonight as we talk, do you believe that Russia interfered with the U.S. election?
Oh, there's no question. Absolutely. Russia is not our friend. Russia interfered with our 2016 election cycles and would do so again and is seeking to do so in other countries. They are not our friend, and there should be no ambiguity whatsoever about that.
Congressman, nice to see you. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Calling for her to testify before Congress in the Russia investigation. But given her history, is she even credible?
Well, you know who is credible? Medal of Honor recipient Dakota Meyer. And he asks, in the wake of Benghazi, on a tweet, could someone please tell me how Ambassador Rice still has enough credibility to comment on anything more than the Kardashians? Joining us now is retired Marine Sergeant and Medal of Honor recipient Dakota Meyer. Sergeant Dakota, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. Great. How are you?
Thanks for being here. So what do you make Susan Rice and her credibility? Where does it stand with you right about now?
I mean, look, you have to look. She was the last administration's appointed liar-in-chief, right? I mean, she came out, she lied about Benghazi. I mean, a year ago, she said on MSNBC, and she said that all the chemical weapons were removed from Syria. I mean, did she know then, just like she knew whenever she lied about Benghazi, that they weren't removed? I mean, it's insane. I mean, I think she needs to testify. I think she needs to testify, and I think that what she'll see, just like the world just seen, we have a new administration in town. I hope that you know, the last administration doesn't represent across the world what the U.S. is, and I think that Trump will hold her accountable, and I think that it's time for the last administration to be held accountable, because the one thing that they were so consistent on, they would compromise the truth at a moment's notice for their political agenda, and that's insane, and then she's still trying to defend it.
Do you think that she was given wrong information, or she knew the real facts and was telling the public something different?
Well, here's what I would say. I'd say that I could look back, you know, maybe at other circumstances or other situations and say, yeah, maybe she didn't. Maybe she was misinformed. You know what I mean? But I think that with her to still continue, and just like she just did about continuing to say that, you know, we were still more effective at getting the chemical weapons out more than, you know, with their decisions based in 2013 than you would be able to with force, then what I challenge her to say is go over and tell the families who just lost their loved ones that what you did was effective, that the actions that you did was effective.
Well, President Obama in 2014 said, you know, it turns out we were right, that by not attacking them in 2013 after that chemical attack, we were right because we managed then to get all of those chemical weapons out of Syria. When you hear that, we played that statement yesterday, it just makes your skin crawl.
It does, and it just shows you that, look, that whole administration operated under a political prism. Every decision was made off of political agendas and look, trying to make everyone happy. I mean, at the end of the day, I have to tell you, you know, to see President Trump go and make that decision, not worry about the naysayers and not worry about, you know, winning in the court of public opinion, and making a decision that was morally right. I don't know if I've seen any decisions made from the last administration that were based off of what's morally right and what is our obligation to, you know, to the world and to the you know, the people across, you know, that rely on us. I mean, you see the Syrians talking about, you know, they look to us to come make and bring peace and help them out in the times that they need it the most.
And Dakota, as a recipient of the Medal of Honor, you're a war fighter. You received that medal under the Obama administration. But with the new Trump administration and their actions in Syria, what's your take on how President Trump has responded there?
I mean, I think it's incredible. It takes my respect level for this man through the roof. I mean, it puts a whole, I mean, Pete, you know, I mean, it gives us the assurance that we're going to be able to do what's right, that we're back. I mean, that's what it feels like. We're back, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think a lot of people around the country and around the world, as we heard from those Syrian refugees on this program, feel like American leadership is back on the global stage. Dakota Meyer, thank you very much.
Why would Susan Rice pursue this?
I have no idea, but I think we need to get to the bottom of it. Susan Rice, in my view, misled the American people about the nature of the attack in Benghazi. She appeared on 5 Sunday shows after the attack, saying things that were completely false and untrue. In terms of political manipulation of national security information, Susan Rice, in my view, has done it in the past. Whether or not she did it this time, I don't know, but it's something Congress should look into. If she was involved in unmasking Trump transition figures, what was the reason, and was there a political motive? I'd like to know that, and we'll get to the bottom of it.
She worked for the president, right?
Well, yeah, but she was a very political person. I didn't trust her.
Who would have told her to do this and pursue it?
I have no idea, but here's the one thing I can tell you about Susan Rice and Ben Rhodes. I thought they manipulated the fact pattern in Benghazi to the benefit of the president. I thought they tried to mislead the American public. There was a coordinated terrorist attack. There was not some protest outside the embassy. So I know what they're capable of doing. I'm not going to prejudge here, but I think every American should know whether or not the National Security Advisor to President Obama was involved in unmasking Trump transition figures for political purposes. It should be easy to figure out, and we will.
Did she break the law, Senator?
I have no idea, but I'd like to know the answer to that question. When did she do it? She claims she didn't. Other people claim she did. Let's talk to Brennan and Clapper. They should know. If she made a request, it would be to them. So I would suggest that we call in Brennan and Clapper and see if there was ever a request made by Susan Rice about Trump transition.
Based on that answer, you're suggesting this story runs deep, Senator.
Oh, I think it does run deep. I'm worried about Trump ties to Russia. I'm worried about who's leaking all this classified information to hurt our country. I'm very worried about somebody unmasking incidental collection for political purposes. I'm worried about all three.
Is this the information that was spread to, what was it, 16, 17 other government agencies in the closing days of the Obama administration? Is this part of that?
I don't know. What I do remember being told was that the intelligence community assessed that the Russians hacked into the DNC computers and Podesta's emails for political purposes to interfere in our election. That happened before the election. After the election, now we have allegations that the Trump transition team, through incidental collection, that their names were collected and unmasked, apparently inappropriately. I think that is a real problem that we should get to the bottom of. And there's an easy answer to this. Did she ask Brennan and Clapper to unmask incidental collection of Trump transition figures? If she did, I want to know why.
Well, you mentioned the 5 talk shows after Benghazi.
Right.
That's okay. She did an interview 12 days ago. Was she forthcoming in that interview, Senator?
I have no idea, but when it comes to Susan Rice, you need to verify, not trust. When it comes to Ben Rhodes, you need to verify, not trust. I know both of them very well, and it wouldn't surprise me that if somebody in the Obama administration, like Susan Rice, would do this, but I'm not going to prejudge. There's a
former Obama National Security Advisor Susan Rice. Multiple sources confirm that she, in fact, did know about the surveillance of Team Trump and was responsible for unmasking the names of American citizens for political purposes. When Rice was first asked about this 2 weeks ago, she seemed clueless.
I know nothing about this. I was surprised to see reports from Chairman Nunes on that count today.
But now that the story is out, she knows something, but is still in denial.
There were occasions when I would receive a report in which a U.S. person was referred to. Name not provided, just U.S. person. And sometimes in that context, in order to understand the importance of the report and assess its significance, it was necessary to find out or request the information as to who that U.S. official was.
President Trump now taking it a step further, saying she may have committed a crime. Joining me now with his take on this, former House Speaker and Fox News contributor Newt Gingrich. So, Mr. Speaker, I find it funny because when President Trump said that Susan Rice may have committed a crime, every headline in every newspaper, and the same thing happened when he said he may have been wiretapped, was citing no evidence. President Trump says this, without any evidence. President Trump says this. They never write those types of headlines when Democrats make wild accusations. Shouldn't the press be actually looking for evidence?
Well, they should if they were the press, but they're not. They are the opposition propaganda, and they are all totally one-sided. And I think this is part of the same thing. You know, what you have is the electronic break-in of a transition team in which apparently the president's national security advisor was aware of what was going on and, in fact, apparently talked about it to some people, because you couldn't have unlocked names unless you talked about it. Now, that either is a crime or it should be a crime. You know, again and again, you get a one-sided news media version because it's propaganda. It is what Trump calls fake news.
When you were in the House, so you know these things and how these things operate. You bring in Susan Rice. She's under oath, and she's in front of a committee, and the cameras are rolling. What would you, as an investigator on a House committee like this, specifically ask Susan Rice under oath?
I'd want to see all the documents first before I brought her in. Then I'd want to see who else is involved, because I'd like to talk to the lower level people to find out, now, did you turn this over to her because she asked for it? Was it routine to turn over things about domestic politicians to the National Security Advisor? And then finally, I'd want her to come in, and I would just start by reading back her own statements. This is exactly like Benghazi, when she went out on every single network show and lied to the American people, knowingly lied to the American people about Benghazi. Now she went out, and we have, as you pointed out here in the show a minute ago, we have her on tape saying, oh, gosh, did that really happen? Now we have her sort of saying, well, maybe it did really happen. Well, who's kidding who? She is once again lying to the American people. And then you'd want to ask the final question, which is, as the National Security Advisor to the President of the United States in an office down the hall from the Oval Office, did all this really happen and Barack Obama didn't know about it?
Maybe President Obama from that island in the South Pacific is going to say he learned about it watching the news like he usually does. Over to the history of the Obama administration conducting surveillance on people. It happened with Dianne Feinstein when the Obama CIA looked in her computers. Congressmen say their phones were tapped when they were speaking with Israelis in the run-up to the nuclear deal. So when people say, oh, you know, this could never have happened, look at the history. I don't understand why people think this is so out of this world that this could have happened.
It is very dangerous in a free society to have the government decide that it can spy on you, it can inform selectively certain key people. It's all outside the normal law and is very dangerous for all of us, I think, as we move forward.
I mean, it sets a very, very dangerous precedent. Do you think you're going to have hearings in the next couple weeks, and are people going to start getting up there and testifying under oath? What's your prediction?
Well, as you said a while ago, one never knows. I hope they're going to redefine the investigation. I hope they're going to broaden it to include all Russian influence.
Yep.
And I hope they're specifically going to ask Susan Rice into both the House and the Senate. And as I said, if this wasn't illegal, I hope they're going to introduce a bill to make it illegal. You should not be able to spy on your political opponent using the power of the United States government. That is a direct threat to our liberty.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gingrich.